guys, how are you doing? Hope mko salama salama kabisa. I am well myself, and I thank God for that. Now, I'm back again with the last two rights of children that have been set out in the Children's Act. Now, have you watched my first and second video? If you haven't, so that we can be together, tuendanishe pamoja, I would advise that you go first watch the previous two videos, and then you come back and watch this one. Now, my name is Julia Gedoi. I'm a mother of three amazing children, and I'm also very passionate about the welfare of children. And I'm out here sharing now some of the information or the knowledge that I've gotten from the course Childcare and Protection. Right? So now I already tackled the first two rights of children, and today now I'm going to be tackling the other two rights that children are entitled to according to the Children's Act 2022. Now, the third right is protection rights, and under protection rights, um, every child has a right to a name and nationality from birth. That one, I think, it's a little bit self-explanatory because a right to a name, yes, an identity. A name is more or less an identity. And in cases where a child has been found abandoned, maybe as a newborn, or even any child who has been found abandoned, it is the duty of the government agencies responsible with matters children, and in this case, it's the Directorate of Children's Services, which have children offices in every sub county. So it's their duty to ensure that this child who has been found abandoned has been given a name. And of course, there are different ways of giving such a child, in this case, a name. Um, and some of these ways are, where has this child been found? Okay. The other right under protection rights that every child in Kenya has, it's the right to privacy subject to parental guidance. Okay? It is the duty of the caregiver or the parent or the guardian of every child to ensure that the privacy of a child has been maintained. Okay? No, actually, just today, I came about a comment of somebody saying, it was a post of someone who was giving their experience on something that happened to them in childhood. So different people were also giving their experiences in that. And this specific gentleman said that one teacher akiwa shule alimtoa nguo, okay, and she is her way of punishment. Alimtoa nguo, I think, in front of other teachers, okay, and of course they added some words that were not very very kind to a child at that point. So that example, hapo privacy ya huyo mtoto at that time had been infringed. The right to privacy had been infringed. Okay, and it happens. It really happens out here. It does happen out here. So it's the right of that child to have their privacy, okay, maintained, subject to parental guidance. And before I even go to the next right, I'm sure kuna wazazi wana watch, their parents watching this video, and from a parent's perspective, now my perspective, one thing I always say about my children, me as Julia, is that I will always protect my children. Like, I will not be afraid to protect my children from whoever, whether it is in their school, whether it is any circumstance that needs me as a mother to protect my children. I will never be afraid of doing that. And I have done that in the past. And soon I'm going to share a very, very recent example of a way I protected my child. Okay? And so my point by giving this example is saying, if you as a parent does not protect your child, tell me, who is going to protect that child? You should be the first person to protect that child. Okay? And one thing that we also need to know as parents is that when you protect your child and they see that I can count on my mother, I can count on my father, huyo mtoto atagrow na esteem ingine hata hautaamini. However, when you don't protect your child, that child will grow, is likely to grow with serious trust issues. Okay, this even research has shown that a child who has grown up feeling that they cannot count on their parents or their guardians end up having some trust issues once they become grown-ups. Okay, now to avoid that, please protect your child in whichever way possible. And I don't mean that someone uses violence. Imagine you can protect your children by being calm, collected, yes, and very firm. Yes, you can do that. All right. Now, the next right that falls under the protection rights for every child is that every child has a right to be protected from violence, abuse, neglect, and exploitation. Okay. And I'll also say that lately there have been so many cases of children being neglected, even by their parents. Eh? Now, recently we visited one of the prisons in Kenya, and the superintendent, I don't remember the exact what is it called? Gina, I don't remember the exact word that they are called. Okay, akatuambia there are quite a number of women who are there because they've neglected their children, and I saw that firsthand when I was in a children's office where a woman, a mother has neglected her children actually. Okay, na ikifika point yenye unajua at the end of the day the ones who suffer in such an instance are the children. Okay, and the fact that it is illegal in Kenya to neglect your child, that mother is liable. Eh? Is that the word? Yes, that mother anafaa kushikwa. Yes, she should. A mother who has neglected her children, uh, in most cases, huwa anaenda anashikwa. Okay, anashikwa if the agencies that are concerned with protecting those rights of children have tried every means possible to try and make this parent take care of their children. Okay, the last resort ni kushika huyo mama, anaingia ndani, and then at this point these children are taken to a rescue center or a children's home where they are able to access the care and protection that every child needs. So the next right that falls under the protection rights is right to be protected from economic exploitation and hazardous work. In simple terms, this means that every child has a right to be protected from child labor. Kazi yenye mtoto anafanya, and mark you, mtoto in this case we're talking an individual who has not attained the age of 18, okay, 18 years. Whichever job that mtoto anafanya yenye anapata pay, okay, whether it is willingly or unwillingly, that the caregiver or the parent or the guardian has a right to protect that child from child labor. Na ndio maana mtoto akipatikana anafanya hizo kazi ya kulipwa, of course action is taken against the caregiver, the parent. Okay, yes, because it is illegal. It is illegal. So protection from illicit use of narcotic drugs and production and trafficking of the same. That one I think is self-explanatory. So protection from all forms of sexual exploitation and sexual abuse. And I'm telling you, parents, the world is slowly changing. You know, the world is changing. Every day you wake up, you hear a case of this and that. This has happened to a child. Okay, and these things, and I must say that these are things that still used to happen huko nyuma, even as we were growing up, where unapata a child has been sexually abused, and sometimes even there are some caregivers who cover up that. Okay, so it is the job of a caregiver, or a parent or guardian, to ensure that their child is protected from any forms of sexual exploitation or sexual abuse. Okay, yes, of course, as we go on, we shall be talking about things that parents need to look out for to protect their children from these things that are becoming more and more scary every day. Okay, yes, and our children need protection from these things. All right, yes, I hope to cover moja hadi hapo. I'm almost done. Now, the next one is protection from torture or other cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. Okay? And it is important to note that in my previous video, I talked about the juvenile justice system. And when it comes to handling cases of children, who are handled in a very, very different way from how cases of a grown up are handled, or from how cases of an individual who has attained the age of 18 are handled. For example, a child who has been caught on the wrong side of the law, okay, should not be handcuffed. Okay? Yes. An individual who has not attained the age of 18, mwenye amepatikana on the wrong side of the law, regardless of what they have done, they're usually not handcuffed. Okay? That one has been set out in the Children's Act. Um, Also, capital punishment or life imprisonment should not be imposed on children. Sawa sawa. So let me just touch a little bit on the juvenile justice system and how it operates. Okay, the juvenile justice system. This is just a summary or a kuguzilia tu kidogo on how the juvenile justice system operates. Once a child has who has who is in conflict with the law or who has been found to be on the wrong side of the law, once wamepatikana, okay, once that case becomes now in progress, and once the judge has given the judgment and all that, the juvenile justice system mainly looks into rehabilitation. Okay, rehabilitation. Like, fine, this child has been caught doing something that is against the law. How can we try to make them a better person? Okay, and that is why previously the approved schools, prisons za watoto, let me just put quotes, which were previously known as the approved schools, nowadays are referred to as rehabilitation centers, to make this child a better person, with the understanding that this is not the end of life. Once this person finishes their term in the rehabilitation center, they get out of those institutions and are integrated back to the community, having gotten some skills that they can, which will come in handy for them to carry on with their life normally, and of course to get something out of their lives. Okay, great. Now that is there's a lot more that we can talk about the juvenile justice system, but I think with time I am going to talk about it, give a few things that I have learned so far. I'm here to learn so much more, but a few of what I have learned so far on the juvenile justice system. Okay. Now, and the final one under the protection rights is protection from social cultural practices that are harmful to their physical, psychological, or social well being. And I'll give you a simple example of that. FGM, for example, that, of course, there are some cultures, there are some communities that still hold on to those backward cultures that, of course, affect children or individuals negatively. So, if you've noted that lately nowadays some of those communities are adapting to better cultural practices, like for example there are communities that are now, which previously used to practice FGM is female genital mutilation, and now practicing initiation ceremonies. Okay, and these initiation ceremonies, instead of making girls go through the female genital mutilation, they are educating them, okay, on their ways of life as now girls who have become mature. Okay, of course the other examples like early marriages, etc, etc, those such social cultural practices that are harmful to a child. Sasa, yes, and the final right that every child has in Kenya, that has been put out in the Children's Act, is participation rights. And this right is whereby, imagine, your child has a right to give their opinion, especially in matters to do with related to them. Huyo mtoto akona right ya kusema, now me, this is what I want. Okay, yes, and that child also has a right to express their feelings and to have their feelings heard. And with time, I think, as time is going by, parents are becoming more and more aware of um, these things, that it is okay for your child to have a different opinion from you. It's very okay, and it is also okay for them to have feelings that are, I don't feel icky to see feel. It's very okay, and it's also important to, just 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 listen to that child, just listen to them, hear their opinion, and ask them why do you think, why do you feel that way. Yeah, go deeper and try to understand why is that child feeling the way they are feeling. Sasa. Now the next one is the freedom of expression. See, that one is self-explanatory. Yes, that child has a freedom to express themselves. And of course, take note that I don't mean that it's okay for a child to be rude to their guardian, caregiver, or parent. No, but the freedom of expression, of course, kuna zile boundaries, there are those boundaries that the child knows that they have the freedom to express themselves. They also need to know that there's that boundary that they can't pass. Sasa, yes, the other one is freedom of association. Hii ni as long as the child, mtoto anaenda shule, they'll get friends there, they'll exchange ideas. And of course, it's important for we as parents to be involved in our children's lives. Try to know what did you do in school, who are your friends, what do you talk about, what do you do when you're together, those things. And they're very healthy for the growth, for the wholesome growth of a child. Sindio? Yes. The other one is freedom of thoughts, conscience, and religion. That's, I think, the participation rights are more or less the same. And vile too, they've been subdivided. All right, this video is a little bit longer than the rest, but I hope you've gotten something out of it. And thank you so much for watching up to this point. I'll see you in my next one. If you're watching this video, kama umewatch hadi hapa na huja subscribe, kwa nini? Si subscribe baki. Eh? So that we can put out more information together.